Hello there, I'm Olly Foster. Here's what's coming up for you on Sportsday this evening. All out by lunch, England's women crumble at Trent Bridge in the first match of their Ashes series. One of Scotland's most successful managers, Craig Brown, has died at the age of 82. We'll hear from one of his players. McElhenney and Reynolds turned around Wrexham's fortunes, but why are the Hollywood pair now venturing into Formula One? Also coming up on Sportsday for you, 1 week before Wimbledon begins, there's been British success at the Eastbourne International. And after 6 months in hospital, we join the British Paralympian George Peasgood as he fights his way back. Good evening to you. Welcome along. A really summery feel to Sportsday on this Monday. Lots of cricket and tennis. We're going to start with the women's Ashes because England have lost their one-off test to Australia on the final day at Trent Bridge. They had hope this morning with 152 runs required, 5 wickets in hand, but it was all over by lunch. Joe Curry reports from Trent Bridge.
Arriving early for what promised to be a scintillating finale to the test. England resuming on 116 for 5, needing another 152 for a memorable victory.
I'd like it to go England's way. I've got a feeling they might go Australia's way, but we've got to start, we've got a chance, the sun's going to shine.
Hopefully by lunch we'll be all wrapped up. Hopefully we can get Crossy and Denny White out nice and early.
This is a fine balance for England. Yes, they need runs, but they also can't afford to lose with wickets. It's a big ask, but it's not impossible. And of course, this is the Ashes. Anything can happen.
England came out fighting.
Oh, she's crushed that away.
But this followed shortly afterwards. Yeah! Night watcher Kate Cross gone early. Enter Amy Jones. Alongside Danny Wyatt, this was the partnership England fans were resting their hopes on. But those hopes were quickly dashed. Jones out by millimetres. 2 broken fingers, no problem for wicketkeeper Alyssa Healy. The narrowest of margins, but the biggest of blows. Wyatt reached her maiden Test 50 to take England within double figures of their target. The question was, could her teammates keep her in long enough to see the jog through? They couldn't. A collapse by the tail end handed Australia victory before lunch.
Australia complete a magnificent victory.
And assured they got their series off to the perfect start. England now have to win 5 of the 6 white ball matches to guarantee regaining the Ashes.
Well, let's head live to Trent Bridge now and speak to Joe. Evening to you, Joe. There she is. Hi there, Joe. Look, they had real belief, didn't they, England this morning, but it just all went very, very wrong. They could not deal with Ashley Gardner. What a performance from her.
Absolutely all quiet now here at Trent Bridge, but this morning in front of 2,000 fans, spinner Gardner really rattled England. She finished their second innings with stats of 8 for 66, taking 12 wickets across the game as a whole. Now, England, of course, had their own moments of magic throughout the match. We had those 2 fifers from Sophie Ecclestone. We also had that 208 from Tammy Beaumont on day 3. One of the finest moments we've seen from an England women's player with a bat in a test match. However, in the end, they were simply undone by a better team in a few crucial moments of the match. Here's England captain Heather Knight.
Obviously disappointment. There was a couple of sessions that we could have done a lot better. Day 3 and day 4, the evening sessions there that probably cost us the game. But I think the way we've gone toe-to-toe with the Australians and really put them under pressure at times, I've been really proud of how the girls have done that, and I don't think we've taken a backward step throughout this test. But yeah, ultimately disappointed, honestly, of being on the losing side.
Skipper looking for positives, Joe. It is a multi-format series. No more tests. Australia got 4 points for that. Still 12 points to play for. You'd think, oh, England, are still in this. But it's a tough task, isn't it?
It is. So the next 6 white ball games are all worth 2 points each. As you say, 12 points on offer. It means if England want to guarantee that they win the Ashes, something that they haven't done since 2014, they need to win 5 of those 6 games. So it's all to do over the test, though. They played without fear, they played with some flair, and they're going to need to bring all that and more when the T20s start on Saturday, because Australia are the reigning world champions in both white ball formats of the game. Now, ahead of that white ball part of the series, I've been getting the thoughts of former England bowler Alex Hartley.
They've got a few days till they meet up as a T20 side before Saturday's game, so they have to take those few days off, they have to reflect and look at where they can get better. But the message from the head coach is all about positivity, it's all about taking the game on, so there's so many positive things to come out of that game. Lauren Filer as well was outstanding, getting Elise Perry twice in a test match. I mean, everybody will be happy with that. So yeah, you know, they have to pick themselves up, and they've got to win 5 out of the 6 white ball games, which will be tough, but take it game by game and moment by moment.
Let's talk about these white ball games then. It starts with 3 T20s. What kind of changes do you think we'll see to the side, and do we need to change anything mentality-wise?
I think the mentality stays the same. I've been really impressed with how Heather Knight, the captain, spoken post-game. She's been upbeat. Girls, there's been some brilliant play. We just need to reflect and move on. We'll see a slight shift in the squad, no doubt. We'll see some players come in. Sarah Glenn will come in. Maybe Tammy Beaumont will miss out and things like that. So there will be a different squad going into the T20s, but that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Because we're at home, we can chop and change our teams, and we can have our best teams out there at the moment.
Yes, a few days now for both teams to rest and recover, and perhaps in England's case to decompress as well. The first T20 gets underway on Saturday evening at Edgbaston. There will of course be full coverage across the BBC.
We're live from Trent Bridge. Many thanks indeed. So England's women, they have made a losing start to their Ashes series. The second test in the men's series starts on Wednesday at Lord's. England one down in that after losing the opening match at Edgbaston by 2 wickets. Our sports correspondent Jo Wilson has been with the squad today.
There's always plenty to look out for at an England training session, especially 2 days before an Ashes test match, especially when there's so much scrutiny about Moeen Ali's injured finger. Now, we were watching, he had the ball, it was spinning. Look out here for a man half Moeen Ali's age. Rehan Ahmed, welcome to the Ashes squad. Remember his potential not just as a spin bowler, but as an aggressive batter. Right. Mark Wood, England's fastest bowler, left out of the first test match, was waiting, pondering, but above all that lies England's mindset. Above all, they are 1-0 down.
I think in the past a lot of England players might have felt a little bit nervous and trying to ensure they don't lose the second test. Is there any of that feeling in the England dressing room this week?
Absolutely not. I mean, look, there's a lot of chat about it, and we spoke positively about the game. We were gutted at the end of the game, of course, to lose, as you should be in a game like that. You put in 5 days hard work, and to end up just on the wrong side of the result was sort of, you get back to your sport and you're like, oh man, how annoying is that? But then we spoke positively about the game. We spoke about what we did well, what we can improve on this week, but there's no sort of fear of losing, and that's something that this team's never going to have. We might be, if we go 2-0 down, we're going to see it as a chance to win 3-2.
Sounds good, but let's be clear, there's a very confident group of Australians in front of the pavilion. Look at David Warner, first slip, and a certain swagger. More coming up. Australia could make changes. I mean, they could bring in Mitchell Starc.
You know, we're coming off a good week, but we know we can play better cricket, and you know, the way that England are playing their cricket, they're going to come as hard, if not harder. So, yeah, if I do get the chance, it's going to be an exciting week. If not, it's the lunches here are pretty good too.
The voice of experience. And experience tells us that 2-0 up in an Ashes series is a very, very strong position.
Jo Wilson reporting there from Lord's. Now let's turn to football, because Scotland's longest-serving manager, Craig Brown, has died at the age of 82 after a short illness. He was in charge for 71 games and took the national side to Euro 96 and France 98, the last time Scotland's men qualified for a World Cup. Paul Lambert, who played in that tournament, won his first cap under Brown.
Forget the football side of it. As a person, he was top class. Really, one of the best one-liner people I've ever heard, the way he came across it. One of the best after-dinner speakers I'd heard, the stories and the experiences of him. But a really good manager to play under. And I think if you ask anybody in our era, we'd have ran through a wall for him. And that's why he probably got us to a World Cup, because all the lads would would have ran through the wall from. And all the lads were good players, to be fair.
He gave you your first cap as well. You played the majority of your games underneath him.
Yeah, I did. And it was great with me. I came in, I'd signed for Borussia Dortmund in 1996, and I came in just after the Euros when Scotland get knocked out of the Euros. I came in just after that, and he virtually played me every game. And so a lot to him for my Scotland career, basically for what he'd done, and took me to a World Cup final, which is everybody's aim when you're growing up, especially coming from a small kind of country such as ourselves, where it's difficult to get to. His record proven. It's proven. So Craig doing it was a terrific achievement. He hated people being late. He didn't like everybody being smart going to the games. He never liked it. He liked us all to be the same. And those values and those traits, I think, stands everybody in good stead. I think that's sadly lacking in probably the world today, but I think he installed it in us at that era. So I think he was brilliant for that. He really was. Maybe sometimes it went over the mark a little bit, but you ask anybody, and I'm talking about all the top players he worked with, I'm pretty sure most everybody would say top person.
And his legacy, Paul?
His last man to take us to a World Cup final, or World Cup finals. That's an extraordinary feat on its own. I think the way he embraced all the lads. I said before, it's a real sad day, this, because I was shocked that when I heard the news that he'd passed away. His legacy, I think, would be one of the good guys, without a shadow of a doubt. But I'm talking about off the pitch. You could have a real good laugh with him, a real good conversation. But his last match to take Scotland to a World Cup.
Paul Lambert giving us his tribute to Craig Brown, the former Scotland manager who's died at the age of 82 today. Well, let's stay with football, because today's big transfer news is that the Manchester City captain Ilkay Gundogan has signed for Barcelona. His contract at the treble winners is up at the end of the week, so he goes on a free transfer. Our reporter Ben Croucher can give us some more details on this deal. He goes on a high, Ben.
Well, I mean, what a high he finished on. He's been a brilliant player for Manchester City down the years. Pep Guardiola's first signing, you might remember, finished off with 2 goals in the FA Cup final against Manchester United and a treble to boot. Not a bad way to go out. But let's take a look at his record at City. He wasn't always first choice with the likes of Fernandinho, Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva, and then latterly Rodri in that midfield, but he became more integral in recent years. 60 goals and 40 assists in over 300 games. He was part of City's most successful era in the Premier League. 5 Premier Leagues, 4 EFL Cups in a row, and then the Champions League that he craved. Speaking today, he talks so passionately about winning that. He called the competition an obsession, and he spoke of his sadness at leaving the team's WhatsApp group. But even as he becomes a Barcelona player on an initial 2-year deal, he said, "I'll always be City. Nothing can break that bond. Love on the highest level possible." The question is, just how does City replace him?
I mean, it's going to be really, really difficult. But if you think about the people who have left over the years, you know, how do you replace Zabaleta, Kompany, Aguero? What City have been able to do over the last few seasons is replace players like this. He'll be a huge loss. Will Calvin Phillips step up? Will one of the youngsters come through? Is there another signing sort of on the horizon? Who knows? But City have done a really good job over the last few seasons of rebuilding, bringing new players in, bringing people on. And I suspect they'll have some plans. They will have known this has been on the cards for a while, and I suspect they'll have a plan.
So, Ben, Gundogan signs on a free at the end of the week. At the end of the week, there are going to be hundreds of players who are free agents.
Yeah, across the Premier League, across the Football League, across Europe. Contracts expire at midnight on Friday. Now, Arsene Wenger, at the end of his time at Arsenal, said that players running down contracts and leaving on frees would become more common because transfer fees are so high. Just look at the sums reportedly being demanded for Harry Kane, who's only got a year left on his contract. Now, for the players, the longer they leave it, the more power they have to demand higher wages. They get nice signing-on fees if clubs aren't shelling out a transfer fee as well. But let's take a look at some of the players who will be free agents come Saturday. Yerry Mina, he's leaving Everton. Fulham reportedly stepping up their interest. Jesse Lingard, one of 6 Forest players leaving on a free. He's been linked with Washington's DC United. Their boss, Wayne Rooney, says there is no interest. Now, on that Manchester United theme, David De Gea is also out of contract. They've offered him a new deal on reduced wages, but he's yet to sign it. Andre Onana, Jordan Pickford, anybody? Now, the France international, Adrien Rabiot, was a United target not that long ago. He could, though, sign a new deal with Juventus on Wednesday. And then we've got Adama Traore, Ollie, at Wolves. Suggestions that he could be the latest player to make a move to the Saudi Pro League.
Yeah, a few have. That Saudi Pro League has had a massive impact in recent weeks on the transfer market.
It has been absolutely extraordinary. Ever since the Public Investment Fund took control of the 4 major clubs, their ambition now is to become one of the 5 biggest leagues in the world. They have been spending for fun. The latest player to join is the Chelsea defender Kalidou Koulibaly. He's joined Al Hilal for an undisclosed fee. Chelsea will have made a loss on him, so he joins N'Golo Kante, Karim Benzema and Ruben Neves, who's joined Al Hilal for £47 million. There are questions over whether Saudi clubs are distorting the market by paying overinflated transfer fees, but players can earn enormous wages, dwarfing their Premier League earnings. Now, there are reports that Koulibaly's ex-Chelsea teammate Edouard Mendy has agreed a deal with Al Ahly. There's talks of Hakim Ziyech as well. Arsenal's Thomas Partey could join him too. Bernardo Silva, not out of contract at the Etihad Stadium in Manchester City, but it's believed he's been offered £75 million a year. So along with Gundogan, that would create quite the hole for City. But Ollie, with those sums on offer, money talks. And for Saudi Arabia, that money is shouting very, very loudly right now.
Certainly is, Ben Croucher. Many thanks indeed. Right, quick look at some of the other football headlines for you today. Luka Modric has been linked with a move to Saudi Arabia as well. But the 5-time Champions League winner has signed a 1-year extension to stay at Real Madrid. It will be the 37-year-old Croatian's 12th season at the club. Former Republic of Ireland striker Robbie Keane is the new head coach at Maccabi Tel Aviv. 42-year-old has signed a 2-year deal with Israel's most successful club, but they haven't won the league since 2020. German side RB Leipzig, they want a fee of £85 million for Manchester City target Josko Gvardiol. That would be a world record for a defender. 21-year-old was an ever-present in Croatia's run to 3rd spot at the World Cup. Now, it's the first day of the Eastbourne International, and 1 week before the start of Wimbledon, there was a great win for Harriet Dart, the British number 4, knocking out China's Zhang Shui in 3 sets, as Patrick Geary reports.
Harriet Dart knows the court is a place of judgment, but the cross-examination has been more searching of late. Why, she is asked, is there only one British woman in the world's top 100? In Dart's case, that's not for the want of trying. Having been 3-love down, she fought back. Zhang Shui would provide a stiff test in a stiffer breeze, but Dart advanced on the summer wind, growing in strength as the set wore on. She won it and soon gained control of the second too. Dart is 142nd in the world, but is, she believes, heading in the right direction. Shui was being bypassed, Eastbourne was being spoiled, and Dart was serving for the match against a woman ranked more than 100 places above her. But then came the hitch. Shui sorry, but not sorry, because the luck from the net helped her drag the set into a tiebreak, where she finally found her bearings. For Dart, the opportunity was lost, but the match wasn't. Into the third, and Dart used her racket more productively, forcing 2 breaks and restoring her earlier momentum. A show of heart from Dart that earned her the space to close the match out. The life of a touring tennis player requires resilience as much as brilliance. And even in tricky conditions, Harriet Dart was never blown off course.
That was quite a roller coaster. You know, I wasn't just playing my opponent, but I was playing myself as well at times, which was a disaster. But yeah, the conditions were really tough. I mean, the wind was going everywhere.
A Wimbledon wild card is guaranteed, and she's found some form. So how far can Dart travel with a fair wind. Patrick Geary, BBC News.
Now, Great Britain's Alfie Hewitt has won every Grand Slam title in wheelchair tennis except the singles at Wimbledon. He was runner-up there last year, and after winning the Australian Open for the first time in January, he told our sports correspondent Andy Swiss that he's going to be giving it everything at the All England Club to complete the full set of major titles.
It would mean a lot. Something that I've dreamt of since playing on the grass in 2015 at Wimbledon, and it would probably be the most proudest Grand Slam, not because it's just Wimbledon and it has that, you know, tradition, privilege, aura about it. It's an incredible event, and that obviously holds a lot of meaning behind it. But I've really had to learn over these years and take a lot of losses, take a lot of tough moments, even Wimbledon itself. And I think one day, whether it's this year, next year, a couple of years, you know, I'm still young, so I'm hoping I've got a few more Wimbledons in front of me, and hopefully one day I can lift that title. That I'll be very proud of the actual journey of Wimbledon itself and the development that I would have had to have made to become a champ.
You've always been a very eloquent spokesperson for wheelchair tennis, and the importance of the profile of the sport. What does it mean, the fact that the final's going to be on the #1 court?
It's incredible. I remember playing in 2016, the first ever singles event, and for many years it was court 14 or 17, maybe the odd court 3. And for Wimbledon to grow and keep developing and keep evolving, spreading that message of positivity, of inclusion, but also just giving hope to youngsters out there who may be disabled to go, you know what, I can physically dream of playing on court #1 at Wimbledon. I mean, that's incredible, just saying that itself. Like, a wheelchair athlete can play their sport on this iconic arena. It's incredible, and I'm so proud of Wimbledon for really caring and making that change and going, you know what, we're even gonna bring a traditional 1 p.m. start forward to 11 o'clock so we can allow this to happen. Obviously, I wish and hope that I'm there on the weekend and playing in those finals, and whatever happens, I'll probably be there and following, you know, even if it's not me.
Just a few months ago, the Hollywood actors Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney were celebrating Wrexham's return to the Football League, but they're now expanding their sports portfolio. The pair are part of a group investing in the British-based Alpine racing team in Formula One. Jane Dougal is here with some of the more details. Quite a departure, this, from what was a non-league team, putting a load of money into that, to going to the very top of motorsport.
Yeah, they bought Wrexham for £2 million, Ollie, but this is a different league completely, because the two actors are part of a group that paid more than $200 million for just a 24% stake in Alpine. It's led by Redbird Capital Partners. They've got cash. They bought AC Milan for €1.2 billion last year. They're investors in Fenway Sports Group, who own Liverpool, so that's where the money's coming from. A big part of Reynolds and McElhenney's contribution is going to be their profile and, of course, raising Alpine's profile, because don't forget, their contribution and their impact on Wrexham was phenomenal. Their documentary Welcome to Wrexham was credited with doubling the crowds and sales of merchandise. Social media exploded as well. Now, Formula One does have the platform Netflix series Drive to Survive, but the US is Formula One's biggest growth area, so Alpine will be looking to capitalise on having two Hollywood stars at their helm.
Jane Dougal, many thanks indeed. Now, in October last year, the day before his 27th birthday, Paralympic medalist George Peasgood suffered a serious brain injury after a freak cycling accident. Now at a rehabilitation centre, he's slowly moving towards his goal of just getting his life back. Our reporter Matt Graveling has been to meet him.
Australia, 2018.
Yes, George!
Another podium for Great Britain's George Peasgood. This success came 20 years after a lawnmower accident left George needing 15 surgeries to his leg. As he grew, George continued to swim, cycle and run. In 2011, he was picked up by British Triathlon, and George already had a clear goal in mind.
Get to Rio and hopefully doing a couple of other games after that. I really want to make this as the best part of my life and make it as long as possible, really.
Rio became reality and was followed by 2 medals in Tokyo. Up next, the Paralympics in Paris. George was flying, but then, on the 1st of October, the day before his 27th birthday, a bike crash changed everything. Rushed to hospital with a serious brain injury, doctors said George was in the deepest level of coma. his family were told to expect the worst. But then, 6 weeks later, George woke up.
Felt like I woke up from a dream. So literally everything from October, November, December, up until 30th of January felt like a dream.
After 6 months, George left hospital. And now, here in Leicestershire, 85 miles away and 9 months on from the crash which almost claimed his life, George continues to beat the odds.
Every day is a positive, like literally every day is a step forward from there. Got 3 hours of intense rehab. Each week I also have a counselling session, which is like that's more the mental side of things. Every day is just massive rehab focus.
Good, keep driving, keep driving, keep driving. Good, work. Good, ease off. Really? George is fantastic. His ability to just get on with it and crack on and work hard and make the best of a pretty poor situation has been inspiring. To have gone from being told that it's unlikely he's probably ever going to walk again, let alone run, to then doing the things that I've seen him doing the past few weeks he's been here has been incredible.
While any talk of competing is on the back burner for now, George says that overcoming adversity at a young age was what saved his life this time around.
It's like being stubborn. Like I've learned to be so stubborn and never take no for an answer. And I just want my life back, the way it was before my accident. That's all I want to do, is try and get my life back.
You going to get there?
Yeah, definitely.
Matt Graveling, BBC News.
George Peasgood, all the very best of luck to him. Just a reminder of our top story. England women have lost the one-off test against Australia by 89 runs, bowled out for 178 by lunch. The Ashes series continues on Saturday with the first of 3 T20s, then the one-dayers to follow. England's women have it all to do. From me, Olly Foster, and the rest of the Sportsday team, goodbye.